Set to start. 80 seconds.
Hi, I'm Neil, and welcome to the Crosscast. It's episode 10 of season 9, and we're into that. It's kind of like free fall, isn't it? National champs are done, and the series are all wrapping up. And for some of you, it's the World Cup. For some of you, it's your under-9s local league. And we are getting into that approach to the world champs, and I'm sure we'll bookend today talking about a little bit about that. But in today's crosstalk, we're going to look back on the national championships that came from South Shields, and in fact some of the other national championships as well from other places. And we're going to look back on the Benidorm World Cup. We're going to give our views on the newly announced plans for the 26-27 national trophy. It's going to be quite exciting because we don't know what all of our thoughts are on it, and we will find out in half an hour or so's time. In today's last one, we're going to look forward to Maasmech and Hoogerheide, where the World Cup final standings are going to be decided. I'm joined in the studio today by Matt Payne and Xan Crease. Last time, Xan, you told us you were staying in Spain for a bit of a training camp. How's it been going, and who have you been riding with, and what's your plans?
Yeah, so I've been out here in like Alicante, Calp kind of area, also very close for the Benidorm World Cup. And no, it's been absolutely lovely. So I've been here with OGT. So there's quite a few of us athletes who are supported by OGT, and we're all here. So it's Lizzie Homoli, who's the gravel national champ at the moment, Matt Holmes, who has done a whole heap of lots of things, and then we've got like the owner of OGT here as well, which is really quite cool. Bit like team building, and yeah, just been going out for some lovely rides, although the weather has turned. So we kind of did the World Cup and it was glorious sunshine and it was nice, and since then it has been pouring it down. So fingers crossed I can actually make it out on a nice ride tomorrow, because I did 4 hours in the rain yesterday, and for the first 3 hours morale was great, we were having a lovely time, and then we were descending for that last hour home, and you think, oh, it's nice, just roll back home. But when you are sopping wet that hour, you just get more and more cold, and you don't have like super winter gloves, so your hands were just getting more and more cold and frozen the longer you rode for.
Oh, Xan, if only you knew someone who could help you with winter gloves. Now tell me, Xan, your OGT owner, is he there on his bike, which is the hand-painted yellow kind of hand-drawn paint job on it?
No, he's not brought out the hill climbing bike that he painted especially for the National Hill Climb Champs, which was pretty cool, to be honest. It was all like OGT logos down the side, which was really nice. But no, it's been good fun. But he did also come to watch the Benidorm World Cup, which was quite nice to have that support on course. And I have to say, I absolutely love the event. I didn't really know what to expect coming into it because, Spain's not necessarily notorious for being a cross-loving country, but my goodness, the atmosphere here was absolutely insane. I absolutely loved it. But Matt, how about you? Was it a hit or was it a miss? What are you thinking?
Oh, yeah, Top of the Pops, number one, straight in at number one. It was. I loved it when it was first on, and we took the Mickey out of the bucket and spades and stuff on the show, on the run in, and all the rest of it. And do you know what? I think I've been so impressed by how it's built over the years, and they've changed it and they've tweaked it and they've moved it around the Upper Pine Grove, the Pinada. Then they've done some little changes. And then you got this massive changes this time around, and the atmosphere is absolutely nuts. I've lost count of the number of people who've messaged to say they were there. Yeah. I got some name checks in on the show as I saw people out around the course, but I couldn't get everybody. I got to get Steve Grimwood in, who is always there in some kind of crazy outfit. I think he was sombreros and less of the pointy head this time round. So I have no idea what he's going to do for Maasmech and Hoogerheide, but I can't wait. But thank you, everybody who's, I know a lot of people were watching the UCI feed and they got in touch, and just thank you, everybody, for getting in touch. Really do appreciate it. It's one of those things. You're very much sort of talking to yourself for that hour, but afterwards when people get into say, oh, that was really good, really love that. That's great. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it. I thought it was brilliant. And I think it's really set us up for the end of the season. And whilst one title might be decided, I think the places are still there. You know, some real intrigue, and I think Benidorm should stay. I absolutely love it. You know, I've ridden around the area. I think it's great to put it in with the training camp. I think it works for the season. I just think, why? I'm not one of these people who thinks that cross should just be based in the Belgium Netherlands border and nowhere else, because cross it should be global, universal. We should have, you know, the cross in America courses. When we go to Fayetteville, for example, you know, that was a very different course, and yet you can't say to me that wasn't great racing. It's some really exciting racing, and we can see the same bit of my, you know, Turalba wasn't everybody's favourite, but I actually liked Turalba. I thought it's just something different. I think, again, if they can build on that, I think, why not? Let's put in these different races. I thought it was good. I mean, I did have a lot of coffee that weekend because I did 4 shows. I worked out I was live on air for 9 hours that day. In total by the end of the men's race. So I was kind of like definitely feeling it. There was definitely some ice cream afterwards because the throat was really croaky, aided by the fact that I was really excited by the racing and what happened in the racing. But I loved it being there. I thought it was really good. I was just disappointed that the big sandpit didn't work. And the sand it rained, it compacted down. It reminded me of when we've had courses in the UK and people have put builder's sand down, and it's just ended up rained on and compacted, and it just turns to one rut. And I've seen a picture of them with a tractor turning it over. I don't know why they just didn't do that at the start of every race, apart from the fact it probably would have killed off the entire racing. But I don't know. It was good. I hear, though, and I did see some comments that the sand up at Gypsy's Green was better, up in South Shields, was better than the sand at a World Cup. But, you know, it was somebody from the Northeast, so maybe I should take that with a pinch of salt. Neil, was it as good?
Well, because there were 2 very different bits of sand.
Okay.
Well, more than 2 up there, but the 2 main bits of sand, the natural one feels like natural sand. The other one, well, I don't know what it was like on the Sunday, but on the Saturday, it was really hard. So on the Saturday, it was so soft and so deep that I normally ride the sand. I think I did the whole section. I think I did the whole thing once, but just because it just kept on going. You know what I mean? You know, like in the sand when you you get your momentum and then eventually it just suddenly goes and you sink, which just kind of didn't happen once. But that was a outlier. It wasn't skill. It was just, it happened. And I have to confess, I did a Degum Thibaut Nice on the sand.
After all that talking about it on the show as well.
I know.
No.
I was on the other side though, so and I just couldn't believe it. My wheel caught a bit, went sideways, and then my bars caught into the netting on the side. And you can even see it in my lap times. It took me so long to get myself sorted out. It was like, but yeah, for us on the Saturday, it was windy. It was cold, bitterly cold actually in the wind, and then. There were no changes. I didn't change. I still don't think I've ever done a change at South Shields, and it was icy. So there was ice under the. As the top surface came off, it was really icy. But after the race on the Sunday, I thought, well, why are people changing so much? There's nothing to change for. And then kind of when I saw the coverage, I was like, okay, now I get it. But the start though was. Honestly, the start was really good, really, really good. The new start, I think it was kind of overdone in some ways because I've never had a start where, in hindsight, I thought I should have paced it.
Yeah.
Normally you're just like full gas, aren't you? You're full gas, and then you get into the main course, and then you
straight
sort
into
of
a headwind
take
as well.
Yeah. Oh, I got part way up the climb after the start, part way up the climb, and then you see gradually it's kind of there was like dominoes all going over, but out of sequence. So as people gradually think, God, man, I'm gassed. And then some
Nice.
people start going back, some people go forwards. And it was so long, and it just goes on and on and on. It was like a mountain bike mid-race climb. And I hadn't clocked that it was going to be like that. I knew what it was like. I'd pre-ridden it, but it was so long. But it was brilliant in comparison to like what they've had there before. It was the start to have. Maybe it didn't need to be quite so long, and they could have brought us onto the course a little bit sooner. But yeah, the start was absolutely fantastic. I have to say, it was so good. Lots of atmosphere, and I thought it was going to be a long way from the pit, but actually it wasn't. It was quite a nice shortcut going up from there. So yeah, that was really good. But yeah, it was a really fun race.
It looked to me very much like it was, because of course I didn't see the Saturday, so I've seen the Sunday, but I've not seen the Saturday, and I just thought, that the Northeast have it dialed. I've had the pleasure of working up there on the events before now with the team, and they've got it dialed. And they're always looking to improve it. And I just thought for national championships, it seemed to me to do the job nicely. It didn't set out to actually wipe anyone out, but there was lots of different things where you could make a difference. It wasn't one. I don't know how it felt for you, Sam, but from where I looked in, there was a lot of tactical racing, a lot of thinking, and a lot of also just being smart about where you put the effort in. Because to me, it just didn't look like there was one decisive point. And that's what I really love about cross. I mean, it's not like, if you just did a lap of everything and there was one point on the course that was everything, then for me, that's not what I'm looking at. I want to see people thinking all the way around that course. Should I go hard here? Should I go hard there? Do I need to save some energy for this? And being really smart. I love that. I thought the course did that. I mean, but it's very different watching on the TV screen to being there in the middle of the race. You can't get polar opposites. Me sat watching it with me coffee, or me, lemon and honey, or whatever it was at the time by that stage of the national champs. But it was just like, it must be so different. Did you like racing the course, Sam?
See, I was split on it. I think the rain did that course a lot of favours. Like, I think with that way that conditions changed, it made the features they had almost like more like they became more than they were before. So that slippy bank, I think if it hadn't rained as much, probably wouldn't have been as exciting, because I think everyone's probably seen it all over their feeds, whether that's the leaders trying to stay upright or the people further back having a bit of fun on it. And I think it was quite nice having those kind of features. And also, like, it just made the whole race, you really had to decide where you were going for it and where you weren't, because even the straights became quite hard, and they were there. Like, it's one of those courses that kind of did have a bit of everything in those conditions. It had those long headwind straights, it had the twists and the turns, had the sand pits. So, like, I did enjoy it, but I'm also like, it was actually quite a hard one to ride, which does kind of hinder your enjoyment a little bit.
Yeah, I found it was really nice that it was skill and tactics. It kind of had a lot of everything on it that you needed, which I really like it when it's your choice as to how fast you're going to go, rather than to get up this hill you've got to go full gas the whole time. And particularly like as you came round before the finish, as you kind of came round the banking there, there were those kind of up and down side on cambers, and you're kind of moderating your speed for getting up them in, it was still facing in the right direction. And, it's just those little bits like that, they don't get into your head, but actually you could make time or lose time on those just by how brave you were or what lines you were taking. There were some lines that I think everyone probably had their own lines, but that the comedy camber was on the Sunday. I rode that clean every single lap, didn't put a foot down. The day Excellent. It was dry and it was, it wasn't slippery. But did you see the clip of Nick Craig on it, where he of course he tries it every single lap, as I understand, and he kind of came round, and then there's this very slight shake of the head, the slightest shake of the head, where he knew that he wasn't going to make it. Just a little shake, and then, but still skillfully and elegantly does an unplanned dismount rather than other people who end up, well, sliding down on every part of their body possible, I think. Yeah.
I think it's almost a saving grace that it eliminated. No one really rode that on the Sunday, and it wasn't decisive because no one could really get around it. Nobody did that. It just so it left the rest. If that one piece, if that had let some people through and not others, then maybe that would have become the key one. But I think it was interesting. I wish I was there. I definitely had that. Oh, I want to be there. I want to actually see all of it and be at the side of the course and be able to shout on the side of the course. But shouting at the telly, 8 hours later doesn't really work.
You could be strategic there, and you could use tactics. I felt I rode for me, for coming in with a result I was pleased with. But I felt it was tactically rode it pretty well actually. Apart from the pirouetting on the ice and doing my T-bone nays in the sandpit, which are all on the same lap. But apart from that, it was everything was. I was really happy. But the tactics were there, even if it was perhaps a bit less obvious. So you take the junior winners, Peggy Knox finishing ahead of Freya Mowbray and Heidi Roscoe. Even within that race, you could see the tactics going on. Okay, Peggy was off the front, but that wasn't just kind of like random, oh, Peggy's just riding off the front. It was tactically, she went to the front, and that was how she was going to win the race. With Jacob Steed and, with Luke Trafford and Samuel Stacey making up the podium there. Jacob Steed, he was riding with Milo Wills for the first half of the race, and tactically it was one way you sort of think you need to video this and show it as a rider who's not being I won't say bullied, that's the wrong word, but they're kind of like, they're just saying, yeah, okay, Milo, I'm going to stay with you tactically, I'm doing my tactics, you do yours. And Jacob was confident in that. And so when the opportunity came his way, it was like now, and he had the gas left to go. And I thought it was an absolutely superb ride from Jacob, and like all racing, you get some days it goes your way, some days it doesn't, and it kind of came to Jacob, but he took the opportunity when it was there for him. But he was already in a position where I think he looked like in control, comfortable. He wasn't letting it get to him, and it looked to me like he was in a position to win the race, even from lap one.
He's had the form. He's got the confidence. But I think the confidence was there based on not just the fact he's been riding well this season, but he's got a lifetime of riding from when he's been really young. He's not always been the fast superstar rider. He's not been the rider who was always winning. He was very often the underdog in the racing when he was younger. And he's got all those years of experience of doing that, added to the development that he's done, and knowing that he's in the right place at the right time. It all came together. And if he was on great form on that day as well, I mean, you have days when you have great form and you just don't feel like you're pedaling the bike. And you just ride away from people who are breathing out their ears and they still can't keep it. And you're like, not quite sure how this is happening, but I wish it happened more often, kind of things. If he had that as well as all that confidence and that knowledge and all those years all built, I'm not surprised that he did what he did and that he rode it so smart. And, I love a rider who tactically plays it out well. Because it would have been very easy to go into that and think, well, I might be outgunned here. No, just stick to the game plan, do what you're going to do and execute it. And then to go and execute it, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And congratulations to Peggy as well. I mean, Peggy's, I know, has just signed a contract for the next season for a team. Just reward. Peggy's, we know he's phenomenal. And I thought this season, it was quite nice to see her actually having to work this season continentally and when she's been racing. And I think if you have it all too much your own way, then you're not going to get those lessons like Jacob's had. And I think it's been good. And again, she showed that class by riding away. I thought the rest of the podium rode well on that junior race in both races. I didn't
definitely.
I don't think there's anybody there you could say, well, that's a lucky ride. I don't think there were lucky. You don't get lucky rides at championships.
No,
there's too many good riders.
Yeah, Luke Trafford, he was racing for the win, pretty much until Jacob went over the line. It wasn't like sitting back, and so he kept Jacob honest that day. And I know Jacob had gone very, very, very deep, probably deeper than he's ever gone before, to win that race. But the others with Freya and Heidi Roscoe, even within that race, we had a lot of places changing. Early on, I thought that Lottie Lisserman was going to podium, but it didn't go her way. This time she kind of wasn't able to take it all the way to the line. She's podiumed at nationals. She was a lot younger actually. So yeah, I felt those junior races, both of them were really, really interesting to watch. Moving on to the next race, the elite women. So Xan, you of course could see that you saw the whole of the race from where you were. So of course Anna Flynn took the jersey with yourself, Xan, in second, and Grace Inglis in third. But there are a lot of other rides that we'll come back to. So Xan, tell us the story. How was it for you on the race? How did you feel it went?
Well, I think you mentioned about just how hard that start is, and you could really feel that in the women's race because everyone wanted to be at the front but not on the front, so there was kind of this surge of everyone was going for it but they were backing off just a little bit. Grace Inglis eventually took the lead, and for that first kind of half a lap that lead kept changing. Like Zoe Roach came into the lead past us, Anna Flynn then took the lead, which obviously inevitably was pretty much how that race went. She took it to the front and she went. Obviously Zoe stayed with her for a little bit and kind of took it to her, but I think we knew going into it there were so many potential winners of that race, so it was really actually quite cool to see how it played out, with Anna Flynn obviously taking the win. But yeah, for me, it was one of those races where the first half, I don't know whether it was the start, whether maybe I hadn't warmed up long enough, that first half of the race absolutely murdered me. I was there like, oh my goodness, this is really, really hard. Like I'm doing all I can do and this is all I've got today. And then I kind of just got to the second half of the race and it felt like I was a different person all of a sudden. It was like, oh, okay, right, I'm here now. This is me, I'm back. And like managed to ride my way back up through the field. And I was quite like glad I had this resurgence and obviously took myself back into a podium position. And I think me and Neil were chatting.
Yeah,
we were just saying that.
It was definitely one of the rides of the day from your ride, because you could have. I don't know where you were early on, but you had Zoe, you had Grace, Eleanor, of course Anna, and so you could have just kind of rested on your laurels really and say, this is fine. I don't think anyone would have said, oh, this is a bad ride because you finished fifth or whatever. But it was like, I wouldn't say teamed up with Eleanor Day, but not quite teaming up, is it? But the two of you rode together for quite a long time in that race. And Eleanor does normally, I always think that she doesn't ever seem to fade. She kind of gets stronger almost as the race goes on.
To go forward.
And particularly on that course. And so when it looked like you opened it up slightly when she faded very slightly and then made your move at that point. That was the thing that got you into that, certainly into that podium position. But then, of course, you came round and there was Grace who had a mechanical of some sort. Did you see what happened there?
Like, I think I said this in my post-race interview, I never actually saw what happened or actually where. I think, so you go out of like the velodrome kind of section and drop down the back, and I think it must have been one of those drops or somewhere in that section that I got past, and I think this was the thing. In this race, we weren't 80%ing riders, so you did occasionally come past a lapped rider, which was no problem for how the race played out. So like, I just wasn't aware of it until I think someone shouted at me that like, you're in second, go for it. But from what I heard, and like it sounded like from the pits, that I think it sounded like she got her chain jammed, like in between like the chain ring.
Yeah, I saw her at the side of the course. It was, if I remember it right, it was, as you come along the top of the banking, just before you kind of do that 180 section, before you do the run up in the sand.
Yes.
That new section that they put in this year, which was great actually. They've done some subtle changes, and they were all of those changes they've made were really bang on. I thought all of them were good. It was nice, really nice. Good work, South Shields team and crew. But I think it was there, so it wasn't even like just at the start of the lap. It was a fair way in. So then when you did come round in second, it was like, yeah, okay, this is a nice way to pass over the jersey from one person to the other. But I think Anna Flynn, we've seen her race that style many times in the past, particularly on the mountain bike.
Last year.
Yeah, and she did the same in Irvine.
Yeah.
And so kind of gets on the front, and then sort of the machine starts warming up.
And that's what she always used to ride mountain bike like. I've had the pleasure of calling her over the line as national mountain bike champion on a number of occasions. It's gone you can just see once she gets going. Like you say, she is it's a machine, and it's almost like it takes a little bit of time to get it all the cogs meshing in the right order, and even when they're not, she's still blooming good. But when they all mesh in the right order, it's like somebody just found overdrive in the gearbox, and it's like, yeah, this is got. I was really pleased to see her do that, because it's been great to see her riding cross again. I know there's a period where she didn't. It's been great to see her back riding it. I thought it's really nice to see. And yeah, not to be the jersey this time, Sam, but I'm sure you've been pleased with your year in the stripes.
Oh, for sure. Like, definitely made the most of it. And like, at the end of the day, like, you can never really complain about medaling at a championship event. So maybe it's not what I came for, but I still walked away really happy. And like, Anna was my teammate last year and has been for a few years. So there's kind of like, there's two halves of you. There's half of you that's disappointed for yourself, but then there's half of you that is so happy for somebody else to have done well. And like, to pass it on to anyone, like, it was quite nice actually to be able to be like, oh my gosh, look how well you've done, because she deserves it so much. Like, she's had some really hard years coming back from a lot of injuries. So to then take a national title, I'm just so happy for her, to be honest.
Yeah. And it was good to see Eleanor Day take the under 23s. And I think respect to Spectra. You look at the impact they've had on the sport, and it wasn't just those podiums, but again, I think they've done themselves proud actually at these champs. The number of riders they've supported, even if they weren't riding in that team, the impact has been huge, and good for them.
And it's not, and we've got to remember, it's not just in cross; it's also on the road and on the National Crit Series. We're seeing them supporting people, and Josh and Gina, and have done a brilliant job. I've got to say, hats off to them. If we didn't have people like that, we who were prepared to go out and do that, we just wouldn't have the same level of riders we have now able to take part in the sport. And they rely on support. So do give the teams a follow. If you're on social media, give all those teams a follow. Every single share of their posts all really count.
So let's move on to the race, which did have more coming into the Spectra riders at the sharp end of it. Toby Barnes, he gave it a really good go, didn't he? But Cameron Mason took the win. Ben Askey, you can never rule out Ben Askey. He was just there plugging away, and came up in third place when he eventually got ahead of, dropped Dan Barnes. Dropped is a bit harsh actually, but overtook and made the gap on Dan Barnes.
Yeah, I love the differentiation there, Neil, because it's almost like watching the race. It's very easy to sort of get preoccupied with the fact that Cam is he is our continental level professional rider in the men's race field. He is the rider. And with the greatest respect to all the rest of the riders, when it comes to continental cyclocross, even Thomas now is really struggling in comparison to Cam. Cam is there week in, week out, and he might not always be top 3 or top 5, but he's always up there. He's always in the mix. He's absolutely made himself at home in that continental scene. And then when he comes back, he can pull it out, and it shows when you watch him ride. It's impressive. I'm sure there's a lot of people watched his ride and thought, I want to do that. There's young kids who've just watched that and went, I want to do that. I want to be like that, because that is how I want to ride my. It was just great to see. But behind that battle, the riding, they are all class riders. And, in a different situation, different scenarios, they all could be in that same place Cam Mason is now. It's just how things have panned out for them so far. It amazes me, both Barses, how long it feels like they've been around for like the last 30 years. And they're not that old, they're just not. But it feels like they've been around forever. And they're always at the front. We're not talking about they've always been at the back of the field or just race. They've always been up near the front, and they're always battling for medals and top threes. And just, it's incredible.
We ought to get some sort of sibling Madison, shouldn't we? We should get both the Barneses, both the Amys, and then both the Askies. I'm sure there are some others we could think of.
Wow.
What a team that would be, or what a 6 riders that would be out there battling it, and none of them would give any space to any of the others. I tell you.
No, it's going to be sharp elbows required for that on the way around. That's for sure. No, and again, you look at Ben Askey. Again, another rider who we know has got the skill, he's got the speed, he's got all of the skill, everything that's required, and he's not going to give up. And it was great to see him on the podium, and I love the fact that everyone's smiling on the podium as well. It's nice to see. All too often you sort of see grumpy faces where people haven't achieved, and it wasn't the case. Yeah, everybody was very, very happy, which was good. It was good to see. Yeah. So, I think job well done by Northeastern, and job well done by the riders.
Definitely, yeah, and now that's the end of the national series for us in the UK, and I have to say, great job. The usual crowds, comms, marshals, volunteers, in addition to everybody else that's turning up and supporting the races. So it's been a good season. We'll review the whole season, I think, later on. Another show towards the end of the year. My most disappointing result, I have to say, was in Switzerland for all the other championships. I was pretty disappointed that it was Keller who took the win, and then just almost
harsh.
Well, but ahead of Neff, and Keller says, "Oh, it's my one cyclocross race of the year," and think, well, okay, but
do you know, we were at the mountain bike championships. I was working there along with Emma Martin, who was doing commentary and doing the questions and the interviews, and I was backstage whilst the interviews were going on, and everybody's pretty nice, and they're all pretty amenable to the questions and whatever. The biggest smiles came from Alexandra Keller, the most amenable to any question anybody wanted to ask. She'd honestly, and congratulating the other riders. I have no idea about the politics between the riders or whatever, and I get that it's been nice to see Yolanda Neff back, and we want to see the jerseys, but it shows you what a skilled rider she is as well. To just be able to come out and race one cross year and beat Yolanda Neff, that takes some doing. Just take that in for a minute. This is not Yolanda Neff who's also just done one race. This is Yolanda Neff who's been racing World Cups. This is a rider who can take away up into the top 5 on next to no racing, and you still got out and beaten her. And I think got to do that. I get where you're coming from, Neil, and
on the mountain bike, Alessandra Keller is one of the ones you enjoy watching race, for sure. In fact, we were when we were out with some friends at the national champs, we were talking about with their kids about who's your favourite mountain bike rider? This person, the youngster is really quite young, and Alessandra Keller was one of the ones that they really liked. Quite why they liked some and didn't like others was a bit of a mystery, but it was very binary. But, I like them. No, I don't like them.
Brilliant. But that's what kids are like, isn't it? I also love about them. There's none of this subtle. It's like yes or no. It's black. It's just told by, like you say, it's totally binary.
And then we get Marcel Meissen. What happened there?
Well, class is permanent. Form is temporary. He doesn't need any form. He just comes out. Comes out of retirement and wins his 10th German national title. it's just ridiculous. It's quite depressing. You just sort of lined up at the start and thought, okay, this is going to be this could either be really good, really impressive, or it's going to end really badly. And it's one of those things. 10. It's just there's been some great riders as well. It's not like he's been the only rider. He's against some class opposition for sure. I thought that was really, really entertaining. I thought that was really good to see. Really good to see. I mean, there were some predictable wins out there. I loved watching the Netherlands women's national champs. Alvarado taking the win. I think that's it. It was kind of like it's been building and building. I wish Poke well in recovering because she didn't race this weekend in Benidorm after that crash. Get well soon. But I still thought the whole race itself, I actually enjoyed watching that. And I like riders who smile when they win. And you know that Soledad Alvarado's going to smile when she wins. There's going to be this cheesy grin on her face for like, this is just the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Each time she wins, and she keeps on doing it. So that was good.
And the respect that Puck gave to the jersey when she came over the line. She came over the line and she was smiley as well. And then she kind of kissed the sleeve with the colours on it. And it was like, what respect to the
Yeah, I thought it was really, really nice to see. The other one was the French women's race.
Before we go into France, Lars van der Haar, he was close.
Yeah,
he was close to taking that Dutch title.
Did that race not kind of sum up his career?
I know, exactly.
In lots of ways. He's achieved so much. You kind of I just wish he got that little bit more. A little bit more energy, a little bit more, one more step on that podium, one more title, one more, take another world title, take a world champ, take another series, something to round out this season with a real last season, take away something super special at the end of it. That would be, it's not taking anything away from the fact he's been amazing. He's been a brilliant rider, and he still is. You don't pull out a ride like he did if you're not absolutely brilliant, but I'd have loved just that little bit more. And that for me is almost, Lars, I just want that little bit more for you, mate. I just wish you had that. You got that bit more. Not much. Just one more step, or just one more title, or just one more. Yeah.
Well, there's only got one more left. One more opportunity left, and we'll find out if you think he can do that next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was close, and he even insisted on sprinting for the line as he does. Even though Thibaut Del Grosso had several seconds on him, it ended up being 3, I think. I've got ahead on the timing, 3 on the timing as he came over the line.
French women's race, absolutely spellblinding, brilliant, loved it. Foucault versus Cherie versus Clazel at one stage, just like everybody throwing everything at it, and it was mistake after mistake almost, and it was errors and it was movement. I thought it was brilliant, absolutely, and Cindy Cherie coming through to take her first elite title of, I predict, many, 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 many titles in the future. She's almost terrifying when you see her down at coming through towards race start and coming off the race. I remember in Levan last year. She's quite terrifying if you think, I'm going to just go up and ask her a question. I'm like, some riders you just whatever. She's quite a fearsome person. She's only young. She shouldn't be scary at that age.
She's scarily young. She's 20.
Yeah, I know. And it's like she's so driven and she's so focused. But great to see that. And she's going to be keep on riding cross as well, which means the jersey's going to be out there as well.
I'm not so sure that she's going to win title after title after title after title, because you look down the top 10 of that French list.
Wow.
And there's 10 of them, actually, that at another time could have won the title. The depth of that field. You got Clausel. You got 2 Clausels in the top 10. Got Lena Berkier in there. They've got generations going through here.
There is, but I think for me, she's got that killer edge, and it's that killer edge you need. And that for me is what separates her a little bit. She's mean enough to win, you know. She's got that. You get her on the bike and you don't mess with her, kind of. And she's going to throw everything out that she's got and make, right the way in. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I'm looking forward to some great battles to come.
Yeah. Okay, we're doing our French champion in 3 years' time predictions here. What about Revol in 3 years' time?
No.
It's like you've got Jerry, Revol.
Yes, but Revol's got beaten, didn't she? This in Benidorm. So she's not unbeaten. She's not on. I think it's going to be great. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. I've already been trying to work out where the next French Cups are next year, so I can go have a watch.
Brilliant.
Just thinking, where can I get to very sensibly, or not so sensibly, or maybe I just hang it and just go and just don't worry about anything else.
And
work.
Is it a sign of the times that we haven't even mentioned the Belgian champs?
Or were they just more predictable races?
Is it a sign of times? Thibaut, we all know Thibaut was probably going to take that because he's been so good. And then I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way to put this. And I'm going to fail miserably. I really apologise now for it. But Belgian women's racing has never seemed to get the same strength in depth that we see in the men's. And when you compare it to the Netherlands women's race
remarkable,
field,
isn't it?
Two nations separated by 4 languages and dialects, if not more, who are within, you can literally do bike riding across the border. I can't remember how many times, they've been, they're so close in so much. And yet that is the one area for me where they seem to be just poles apart. And there's no disrespect to Marine Aubry-Brol or to the current crop of riders, but there just doesn't seem to be that same field depth. If you compare them to the French women's field and the Belgian women's field
and the British women's field, there's depth.
Yeah, there is. And I think if you look at the podium for the women's elite race and you look at where those French women were starting to come in versus Belgian women, you're like, yeah, okay. Slightly different course maybe to normal, but it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what happens as we move forward. Hopefully we're just going to see lots of great racing.
Yeah. So we've got all of this racing, which happened, a lot of it in the snow, a lot of it in the ice, which did mix things up a little bit for the national champs. But then everyone was on the seaside with their bucket and spade. Xan, did you make any good sandcastles over in Benidorm? Or more importantly, how did you get on? What was your race story?
Benidorm was an interesting one. As I said earlier, the course and the atmosphere was insane. I think from what I've heard, probably even from previous years, or just kind of what you expect of a dry race, I was kind of expecting those races that play out a bit more like a grass crit, more of the long straights into quite fast corners. But it was such a good course, and I don't know if that comes across on TV as how well it came to ride. But it was very much a case you did have those straights, but the technical stuff that they had, the twists and the turns, every little part of that course just made sense, and it was there intentionally. You didn't think, they've just put in that for a TV camera, or that didn't add anything. Every part of that course added something, whether it's that big long hill up the start finish straight, which was absolutely painful for the riders, I have to say. That hurt so much every lap. And then you've got that wood section at the top with all the twists, the turns, the big puddles, which you can tell Spain doesn't know what to do when it gets rain, because it was just you just came around a corner and all of a sudden big massive puddle was plopped in front of you.
Yeah.
And you had those off-camber banks, that slightly muddy section. I loved the race, and the course so much more, because I didn't think it would suit me, and I thought I was just here, for the training camp and getting the miles in. But it was so good. Unfortunately, again, I don't know how much you see on TV because how much they focus on the front, because this is a race I've not seen back yet. But there were so many crashes on that start-finish straight. By the time I got to the first corner, I'd been in 2 crashes, and it was
what?
Great. That was
don't see just the way the camera is, and because of the slopes. I have to admit, you can see, you can't even see almost row 2 and 3 a lot of the climb, because of the way that it's dropping down behind the riders.
Because the riders are behind.
Away. Yeah, and it's behind and down, and it just meant it was very difficult to see what happened. And there were, you can't. It's very difficult to spot, particularly when obviously you're watching for who's going into that first corner first, wanting to get an idea of who's had that good start up there. And I thought it did come across well on there. I thought your race, I mean, if you've been 2 crashes before you even got there, and then you've got that long section through in the upper woodlands, it doesn't just ease off and stop. It keeps climbing. You've got the ditch, and then you drop through there. And then for me, my favourite part of the course actually was when you'd gone out the other side of the sand trap. So you've gone through that long sand pit, the section down there into the lower section. How was that? Because you had that sort of that right-hand dip and then into a left, and then all the zigzags and turns. You could see if you got it right, it was going to be good. But if you got it wrong, it was really going to cost you.
It's one of those sections that you look at it and you think, oh, it's not that bad. But then when you try and ride it, and especially with how it had cut up and there was a nice rut on each of those corners, you kind of almost had to just commit to the line. But that meant then if you messed it up or you dropped too low, you were out of the line. And particularly once you'd gone around the corner, it then kind of kicked back up. But it was that rut as you kicked back up. It was, again, I'm not sure if it showed on camera, but it was really steep. So if you came out of that rut or you tried taking a line, you had a long way to go up. And then again, it keeps climbing over the top. And then you're straight into the hurdles. So it's one of these sections where it was kind of like you had to go and go again and go again. I mean, I really enjoyed it. And I think that made it really quite interesting because it was a kind of part of the course where if you were good and really smooth, you could actually make a lot of time up. And if you weren't, you could easily lose quite a lot of time just by getting one of those 4 corners wrong.
Yeah,
it certainly looked to me like it was a good race through, and I think it's my favourite incarnation yet. Probably my least favourite bit was the trip down to the hairdressers and back as you went down to the loop around the corner, round Alpes. I can say it now because I'm not on air on the main feed. Round Alpecin corner, basically round past Alpecin.
I'll tell you
back up the hill.
I'll tell you where it is. I'll tell you exactly where that is. It's on Swift when you're in London and you go along the back of Buckingham Palace and then you go round the roundabout and you come all the way back again. It is exactly that section there.
But it's downhill,
so you can see the people
It's like go round past Alpecin, but and we had these great shots, and there was, I think it was Vermeesh in there, and various people getting their hair caffeinated to
yeah. I've just made the connection. What you said earlier,
Round the way, no, I know it was probably a little subtle. It's late in the evening.
No, but I did notice it.
Wrote it up. But that for me, that section was brand new, and it was actually picked out by Lucinda Brand as being one of the sections that actually was really quite key by having that second road climb in there. It broke it up, but it's probably my least favourite part of the course.
Yeah,
but I actually still thought it was quite good because we could see what was going on quite a lot. And it was nice to see the time check against people.
Yeah.
That's all. I was like that. I mean, I think that the race that we had with Orts and Nace, I felt that the men's race, and don't slam me too much on this, I thought the men's race had kind of settled down something that was just a little bit uninteresting when it was sort of a lot of people behind and then Matthew van der Poel off the front. But then when we had that little split and when Orts, I thought to begin with that Orts was kind of doing almost like a lap for fun for the crowd. And then Nace came across to him and that was just, it was sport drama at its best, and the fact that it was covered so well with the TV coverage, I thought, they didn't have to do that. Of course, they should have done that, and they did do it. But it was great because we could see that happening, and it was that tension of, are they going to make it? Are they going to make it? It was almost like a 2-up breakaway in the Tour de France. Are they going to make it? And the sprinters closing in. And Orts,
when you wake up in the morning as a commentator and you got Matthew van der Poel in the race, and you know that he's likely just to disappear. Okay, maybe not lead across from the very first time over the line. Every single lap time was his in that race. But you wake up in the morning and you think, I hope something really good happens behind.
Yeah.
Wow. I must have done something right the night before, because I woke up in the morning and I went, I hope something really good happens behind him. And that, I've cracked a few times on commentary. I'm a soft sod, really. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I absolutely loved the fact that us, and he'd been on camera. I'd seen him actually being lined up for the interview that you saw on the show with the kids. And honestly, it was really lovely to see. And then you've got Tebow, and he's like, point to the back, get on my wheel now, and we actually get to see that. It's just like, thank you. This is what we want to see. We want to see the characters like Nace. If he didn't win hearts and minds by running all the way through Zonhoven with a broken bar, he's just won a whole new army of fans in Spain for doing that with Felipe Ors. And Ors to ride like that, fantastic. I mean, he's had a second, and that was his third place.
Yeah,
so
I was delighted
3
to
podiums. Brilliant.
See that. It made it. It made it for me. That whole the story that happened there. Yeah.
Everybody's trying to. I think I might disagree with you about the race behind and the big group behind, because it was forever changing and people coming in and El Grosso fading, and it was interesting to see. It was, of course, that people didn't necessarily like it. Some of the riders said they didn't like it.
Well, I've got in the notes here where was the cable cam, because I actively missed they used to have the cable cam going up the climb, which I think was where the start was.
That was now the start finish.
Yeah. And I was kind of waiting for it to happen, because that always gave really, really good. And I assumed that there'd be a drone, but they didn't ever seem to.
I'm not sure because of the arches there.
Yeah.
Because you got the start finish gantries. I'm not sure that doesn't block the cable cam where it is, and I don't know if they can hop it to one side or the other. But
well,
I might ask, given half a chance, maybe I'll ask.
Yeah, tell them that you've had people asking where was it. Yeah, Neil says,
Neil
can we have a drone next time, or we get another cable cam? Looking at next times, we've had the national trophy plans published for next season.
You can't go on yet, Neil.
Why not?
You can't go on yet, because you've got to say congratulations to Lucinda Brand. Not only on winning, but on winning the World Cup this year. Job done.
Yep.
Game over. No one else can get near. Absolutely. To say that she'd been come off the back of two races where she hasn't won, you could have thought, and she's not won at Benidorm before.
I know, yeah.
It'd been one of her nemesis races to come out, win it, and take that. It was good. And Alvarado's ride, absolutely superb. Absolutely off the scale. If somebody who wanted it, how much did she want it? And then she got over the line, and you could see all the riders after that line. I mean, if it was bad during the race, when you're sprinting into that race finish, I have no idea, but if they were there, but I'd be getting people with oxygen for you at that point, because it was just like you could see everybody was just in bits afterwards. But no, I think it was. I enjoyed the women's race. I thought it was good. It was a good race. The men's was good. Before we leave, would you say, Xan, it would make a good World Championships or not, given that the World Championship bid hijacked the men's podium at the end, live on air, which was totally news to me when it happened, and they actually came up with one of those comedy, like the comedy checks that you get, like for you've just won $1 million, and the check is like 15 foot long and 3 foot wide, or 5 meters long and 2 meters high. They had kind of that thing, but they gave it to Matthew van der Poel. He said on it, "Our bid for the World Championships is endorsed by Matthew van der Poel." Pretty much, he didn't quite say that, but that's what it looked like. Oh, Matthew, by the way, you're going to endorse this for us, aren't you? And you kind of like, I'm sure it was a bit of a hijack. So, Xan, would it make a good World Championships one?
I think it would, and I also think it's great to see like the World Champs going to countries. As much as like they have great Belgian and Dutch courses, it's actually gonna be nice to see it go somewhere else. Like you saw how much the Americans loved it, and I think they want it. And like the course was so good. I'd love to see it go there, to be honest. And I kind of hope they do get it.
Neil?
I agree. But I think what even makes it even better is that the course. It's not when we've gone outside of the cyclocross heartland, as much as I don't like the phrase, it's often gone to courses that are untested, Dubendorf or where we were in Denmark, and and those courses don't always and Luxembourg, and all these courses which are untested. If we went to Benidorm, it is tried and tested. You know it's going to be a good course, and you don't have that first time of running a major championships on that course, and so they've kind of ironed out some of the issues already. So I think that was that I would very much support it, and I'd probably even try to go. That's how much. No. Speaking of things I'm going to go to, we've got the plans for the national trophy for next year, which have come out. Now, first of all, let's kind of do what they call on some of these podcasts an explainer. I've not got my notes, but it's the idea is, first of all, only one round is UCI, and that's round one, which is Derby, and then which I think is we can kind of skip over that because that's not really the bigger thing to talk about, which is they're going to start the weekends later on the Saturday and shift some of the racing onto the Sunday that's currently on the Saturday. I won't give you all my reactions to this yet. And then we're going to have a double race weekend after National Champs next year. So 2 days of racing with 2 rounds. And we've been promised what are our reactions to it. So who wants to go first? Xan, it's you.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know jump at once, but here we are, right? I think it's really good to see them trying something different. Like we've seen, obviously, this year, the National Trophy Series hasn't been growing. It's kind of stalled a little bit. So it's good that they are trying different things, whether the scheduling helps. I think the trying double weekend, but also this year trying one, like not just changing the whole calendar, like, right, here's 4 double weekends. They've gone, let's try one double weekend, see what people think of it, if it works, before we commit to all the rounds. I think that's done. And I mean, I'm interested to see how it goes. Like, I hope it goes well, because we are going back to a brilliant course. Peel Park is one of the best courses that used to be on the Trophy Series. So I really do hope that weekend goes well. Obviously, from a perspective of like an elite rider who will also race in Europe, with the Trophy Series not being UCI status, which much like understand why they've made that decision. It does mean, like, for a rider like me, not that I've done all the rounds this year, but the only round I will probably do is round 1. And having spoken to other like elite riders, that's also the impression they're under. So I do think for the elite categories, at least, we're going to see less riders do the series. But of course, it's not just elite riders. We've got like the vets, the youth riders. So there's a lot of other riders that hopefully will now feel that that National Trophy Series is more worthwhile for them. And as we know, not having that UCI status means that there isn't that same prize money requirements. And hopefully that does help the organisers know they're not taking such a big hit every week. Matt, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I really hope that this is part of a strategic, thought-out plan. That it's not just a knee-jerk, sticky plaster reaction. Oh, organisers are struggling financially, let's chop UCI, because that affects other things. I'm hoping there's some strategic thinking behind this somewhere, that somebody's gone, right, we're going to do this because strategically it makes sense because of that. And it's not just some random hit politics, because it's very difficult to see. It's kind of feels a little bit like it's all great ideas, but the devil of this is in the detail. And this is sort of my considered sort of thoughts after. If this is done right, it could be the saving of the national trophy. But if the detail is wrong, it could equally be the death knell for it, because that is we were already going to have an impact, a very obvious one. UCI round on round 1, international riders, why ride the rest? If you're an aspiring international rider, why ride the rest? And I'm hoping there's a strategic policy that says, well, actually, the national trophy is actually for everybody. And somebody's gone, national trophies for everybody. International riders can ride internationally. They're a minority of the race field. And therefore, we've got to try and cater to the majority. I do have concerns about timing. I have concerns about 2 major things. One, it took a long time to get women's racing in. I mean, literally have had a stand-up fight with a commissaire, international commissaire, in the efforts to get women's racing separated and to get this women's elite separate from the rest of the women's race field, so that the rest of the women's race field wasn't subject to 80%. And I would hate to see the day where we have the women's race field mixed in any way, shape, or form with the men's race field or with the open race field. Because when we saw that in the past, we saw accidents, we saw incidents, and that's happened time and time again. That's a proven risk, and we know that. And I think that would be very retrogressive. But I also think if we're going to try and squeeze everything into the day, we already, or squeeze more onto Sunday, we went on to Saturday for a reason. Now, what was going to be chopped down? Where are you going to condense the race fields? Who are you going to squeeze together? When I first started commentating, all of the youth categories, under 14 boys, under 14 girls, under 16 boys, under 16 girls, were all together. Now, we already know, and we already seen, and there was one of the points made to me about a race recently was that one of the race categories did not feature at all in any recognition during the race day in the youth categories because it wasn't possible to spot them when they were mixed in under 14s and 16s. You put all four race categories together, it's almost going to be impossible to do that. And you've got big age difference and size difference between some of the younger female race field and the open under 16 race field. We all know that they can be 6'2" and, ride at 35k an hour everywhere versus somebody who's just starting out. And there's big differences. So I think there's how this is planned out. I hope there's been some strategic thought behind it and there's some detailed thought behind it to make it work.
Yeah, I think you've I think you've said some wise stuff there, Matt. To be
doesn't happen often, I know.
Well, I think the detail. I think you're right, you're totally right on that. As far as I know, we were the first people to use the expression, but it's not a trademark. Is the national trophy broken, which has come out several times over the past 12 months or so, and I think something needed to be tried, and there are a lot of things that where people were saying we are struggling with the national trophy for this reason, and I think that what they've done, actually, I think some of it is, I wasn't say genius, but we'll find out if it was in a year's time, because they've done some really, really smart things here in my view. So the first one of these is about making the start later on the Saturday. So what we've had this year is we've had a lot of dead time on the Sunday. Yes, we know the numbers are down. This isn't the place for the debate of why, but it's a fact. And there has been space on the Sunday to put more things into it. So if we can shift the Saturday, it opens up an opportunity in the morning for those under 12s, under 9s, etc. If the venue has got the capacity, the organisational capacity to do it, and those are not the ones who are going to be travelling, and that brings your next generation through. It also means that there are fewer people who would have to go and stay overnight the night before to get there to be in there for like 7:30 sign on the Saturday. So I think from a cost perspective, this is going to help. It's not going to help everyone. Yep, that's true, but it will help some people. And so I think from that perspective, I very much welcome the experiment. And in terms of the double weekend, how they're going to fit it in, that's not been published. I've looked at various possible ways of doing it, but the thing that I've come back to people on is, look, every league does it every week. Okay, numbers are smaller. We're all used to doing a single day, and then you have to look at, well, what means that you couldn't do this for a national. The thing where I have some hope for it, though, is actually we are a long way behind the rest of the world on this. The rest of the world can do it. They make it happen. Xan's told us earlier in the season about Sweden. They do it. It's done like this in the US. It's done so many places. I think it's done in, you said somewhere else, Xan, earlier. Where else is it done? For these double weekends just being
France,
the norm.
It's double
France.
weekend.
Yeah,
France does double weekend.
And this year, the experiment, if you don't like it, you don't have to go both days. You can just enter one if you want. That's fine. No one's going to hold you there. And the experiment is going to happen right at the end of the season when the numbers are smaller. So I think the way it's being trialed is a really good way of doing it. So I'm positive overall. There are details that I'm very concerned about, but I think that they're detail rather than the overall move, which I support. Matt?
yeah, I mean, I think something needed to be done. And as I said, I'm hoping this is somebody strategically thought about it. It's not just a knee-jerk, well, let's try a lot of different things and maybe something will work. No UCI races means that you don't have to abide by the rules about how many races you can have on the day. It means that the trophy can be a trophy race which has more than 4 races in a day on the same course, that you can put races on before it. You can change the structure. You can do whatever suits. We know the volume of vets bankrolls pretty much the series and has done for years because they are the guys paying big adult fees. You know, the kids' fees, how many kids you get, it doesn't really make much difference because they're tiny fees in comparison to the vets. You know, they're the guys who are actually keeping it going. The trophy needs to be for everybody to race. And if the minority that are excluded are the international riders, sorry, Sam, then do you know what? Actually, it's probably a fair reflection of where the sport's at. And if somebody doesn't like that, then please bring your £1 million, distribute it amongst the organisers so that they can buy the infrastructure and buy the marshals and the stewards and know the course and know the area and pay people expenses to ride to support it, because that's going to work. But if you don't have that magic money in the bank, you know, if you don't have that magic money tree in the back garden, then, you know, do you know what? This might be the solution. And it's going to have a lot of people moaning. You know, people are going to say, oh, it doesn't support us here, there, or everywhere. Do you know what? You've got to try something, because if you leave it as it is, it ain't going to work.
As far as I've seen, there's nothing to stop the other rounds being UCI rounds. So if
there is a rule about how many races you can put on the race on the course on the same day.
And I understand. What I understand is that there's a dispensation possible on that, which is how it's going to be done in Derby. So I know that was the case, but we know that what happens on the ground is not like that all around the world. And so we can follow the trend on that side. I think this debate is going to run and run. It will run a lot into next year as well. There's the summary from Neil is some things will be worse, some things will be better. And so there we go. You can hold me to that.
No, yeah. I do think the serious point there is, realistically, let's get the debate going. Let's keep the national trophy going. And if this is what it takes, and if we have to, it inconveniences some people, or it changes some people, well, do you know what? In about 10 years' time, because I'm an old gamer, I'll tell you, it'll all change back round again, and it'll all come out. You know, it'll all change given enough time.
And people won't like it then when they change it, will they? You know, never do.
Don't wonders on the keyboard. You can complain about anything.
To take the bell and look forward to what's coming up in the last ronda. So we have 2 more World Cups coming up, Maasmech and Hoogerheide. So the first race that's coming up is Maasmech, and that one is one that's on the mine. And there are 2 things that we can remember Maasmech for. The first one of them is Wout van Aert's interview at the end last year, where he refused to wipe all the mud off his face, which is one of the best things I've ever seen. No one knows what he said. No one can remember what he said. No one's paying attention to what he said. Everyone was just saying how cool he looked with all the mud all over his face. And the other thing, which I think Xan can tell us all about, is those amazing mirror wall. Xan, how was it? Do you remember it last year?
I do remember. I actually remember it most from like 3 or 4 years ago. And it was just, you notice it more in course practice than in the race, I have to say, because you're just riding along, you're like, sometimes it's a bit deceptive on my own, and you're like, oh, okay, that's a mirror, that's me. And then round the corner. But no, it's quite fun. Like, sometimes it's nice having just loads of fun little features on the course.
That's the side of the environmental buildings that are part of, I want to say, Maastricht University. And it's their environmental domes, and it's actually a mirrored side to the building of a university building. Neil, you should know which university it is. I'm sure it's Maastricht there. But it is, yeah, it's on the side. It's the reclaimed, used to be the biggest coal mine in the area. Goes underneath the heath for miles, and then you got all the old pit head winding gear that you go riding underneath us, which is really spectacular. It's I really like the course. I remember commentating on it in the first year it came in, and riders weren't so keen on it then. Then they changed it the second year, and riders were much more keen. They'd just taken a few of the things out, particularly a few of the places where you could get punctures. But it's one for punctures there because stuff comes up through the ground because it is reclaimed land. So it's one where getting the tyre pressures right is really tricky as well. I think as a penultimate round, it's a good penultimate round. I think it's right at the side of the shopping village and the hotel. It's got this it's a really weird juxtaposition between, imagine your MacArthur Glen shopping village, Cheshire Rose, whatever, Blue Water shopping village. It's got that at one side of it, and you've got the other, this nature reserve, and you've got this old mine infrastructure, and you've got the cyclocross race there. So it kind of, for me, almost sums up how the craziness of cyclocross. We're going to put a world-class race in the middle of all this, in the middle of winter, and it's still going to come out really good. It's very rarely processional for me. That's for me. I always feel it's good racing, but maybe I'm just an utter enthusiast.
No, I think it's a course that rides really well, and it's one of those ones I've done it actually dry and wet. Although the dry and wet year was a few years ago, and it was a lot earlier in the season. And both times it still has features that ride really, really well. It has those kicks, those punches that I'm not sure how clear or how obvious they are, but they do. They kind of break it up. They make it a bit more interesting. I've seen with myself, I'll be able to get away from rides on the technical sections, but then there'll be a bit of a draggy climb. Can I hold them off there? You have got a couple of straights, but again, it feels like a really well-built course. Even though it's not been on the calendar for every year, it's a World Cup that is such a good course and so much fun as a rider as well, which I think helps when you're trying to get people to go back year and year after year. If the riders are enjoying it, you're going to get them to turn up year after year.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good one. Matt, you're on the mic for it, I think. And to answer your question earlier, just so people aren't left hanging, it's actually University of Hasselt.
There you go.
Is it's their Ecotron Centre, and Hasselt is where those long-term listeners, the original listeners who remember Flemish with Fred, Hasselt was where Fred was originally from when he is Belgian, but when he grew up in Hasselt. So there you go. A bit of cyclocross, multiple connection points with University of Hasselt Ecotron Centre. What a cool name. Anyway, the following day, let's move on to the following day, which actually is another country, but it's only walking distance, well, a long walk between the two as we go over to Hoogerheide. What can we say about Hoogerheide? Classic course. It's got the steps that go in front of the flats. It's got that camber section. It's got drones which do amazing shots, I hope, through there. It's got massive flyovers if they put them in, and that start finish straight, which is not as flat as it looks on the TV. But yeah, classic course, and there's so many great races there. Xan, what do you think of when you think of Hoogerheide?
See, I wanted to say originally, that climb all the way up to the top of the course. I know it's a road section, but that's kind of what I think of where I see the sprints and the battles of that race. But I almost think now it makes me think of Benidorm. But I think the other main thing is before you get to the finish straight, you have that kind of off camber along as you drop down onto it. And I think maybe it's because one of the years when I was really getting into cyclocross, I think it was, which sounds crazy because that's how it is again this year, a brand between Alvarado and Brand. And I think Alvarado crashed on it and then Brand got the win, which I think gave her the series win. And I think because that's the years I was getting into cyclocross, that battle, inspired me so much to be, I want to be there. I want to do that. So that's probably the bit I kind of think to and go to, because that can be where the race is won or lost.
It's got so many moments from history, or modern cyclocross history, hasn't it, at Hoogerheide? It's got that, what happened on the hurdles when it was world champs in the elite men's race, where it was kind of, that was the moment when it was that, a strategy which was just a surprise. It had that section on that camber, and then when it was world champs, when was it, 10-ish, around then, and you had Nace and Stabar, and it's still, if I'm ever going to watch a historic race, it's still my go-to race It's so amazing. Nace and Stebar on that course, who and I think it's because, again, it was one of those ones where it wasn't easy to watch cross at that point, and they were both so impressive in that race. I think Hoogerheide is such a, it's a classic in every sense. It's it's history, isn't it?
It's almost become the default finale of the season recently, since we went there for World Championships. And it's a very, very similar course this year. The big flyover is not quite the same. VIP still in the same place. The hurdles are still up at the top of the bank. You still got the sprint up the tarmac, where we had that Wout versus Matthew sprint. We've got the turnaround. The tree's been reversed, as we saw on the World Champs. So it's very similar to the World Champs. You've still got the section where the drone goes through the woods. It does have, for me, it has moments. And that's one of the things I'm always looking for is, you're looking for moments. You're looking for incidents. So Benidorm, when Wout didn't make it, over the hurdles, and he ended up coming off in Benidorm, it's a moment that's been played time and time again. The moment the sprint up, with the massive crowd. So there were 50,000 people at Hoogerheide for the World Championships in the last time it was there. It's consistently a really good finale. I think this year, because so many riders are in with a chance of basically second through to wherever on there. I keep a track of the top 25 riders for every round. So I know that coming in at the end of the last round, I'm just going to pick randomly the men because it's the piece of paper at the top by the side of me here, that 8 men in the top 25 went up, that 8 riders went down, 9 held their position. The biggest climber was Martin Gros-Lambert, France, then Remy Lelandis climbing 5 and 4 places respectively. But actually, when you look at the points gaps, you think, do you know what? Nobody is safe. And even technically, Mathieu van der Poel is not safe in that race lead yet. It could happen at Maasmech. It's likely to happen at Maasmech. He goes clear enough. But it's not guaranteed. It could well be that he doesn't seal it till the last round. But behind him, Michael Vantora now ill at Benidorm, coming back hopefully from illness to come and fight, take back that 3rd place he lost to Niels van der Putten. Everything is like, there's nothing deciding. It's so critical for riders to be right up there and in each of these rounds, never mind in the series overall. Xan can tell us, I'm sure, at length, just how important it is as an international rider to be there at a World Cup and to get those results. And this is 2 in a weekend at the end of the season of World Cups. You got to be, I think you'd be crazy to miss it as a rider, and pretty much just as crazy to miss it as a viewer or a cross fan, because I just think what a way to round out the season. And on those 2 courses, and Hoogerheide, everybody should go once, definitely.
Yeah. And Xan, are you going to follow Matt's advice? Are you going to round out your season at either Maasmech or Hoogerheide or both? Or
are you going to be crazy?
Are you going to be,
Well, it's a good job, because I was going to be crazy until Benidorm. I was originally going to skip both and end my season at Benidorm. Basically, I've been carrying a bit of an injury and struggling breathing, and I was like, maybe I need to just rest and let my body stop. But actually, when I raced at Benidorm, I felt probably the best I'd felt on a bike all season. And I was like, I can't stop now. I need to go again. I need to do one more weekend. So I'm definitely racing Maasmech. And if my body lets me, I will be racing Hoogerheide. So fingers crossed that I'm on both start lines, because I love both of these courses.
Fantastic. So if we come back next week, we're going to do just a 1 week pause as we go between the crosscasts, and to find out how many Xan raced. Well, of course, you're going to watch them anyway, but which of them Xan raced and how Xan has got on, and we'll get the full lowdown on that. But next week is the show you must not miss. Next week, we do the Squirmy show, the Podium Picker show, where we put our predictions on the line. Now, team, we did very poorly last year in this. We were very poor. We have to do better this time. I will change the rules as best I can.
Look, you organised this, and if I'm not wrong in remembering this, and I did try to blot the memory of last year from my mind because we all did so badly at this. But were we not all beaten by somebody else in our households?
Yeah.
Just on the way through, big style.
Yep.
And were we all beaten roundly by most of the listeners?
Yeah, almost all the listeners. So we didn't do well last year, but this year it's going to be different. We'll be given a full preview of the World Championships as soon as the start lists are out. That's what we're going to be waiting for. We'll give full preview of the World Champs. If you can't wait until then, well, you can listen back to last year's predictions and see how well we did. If you want to support the show, then if you want to support the show, then please do. It's your chance. Go on to buymeacoffee.com/crosscast, where you can buy us a virtual coffee, and that will go towards helping us out, keep us on the road, and keep the show subscribed, ready for next season, because we do have to pay our fees all summer as well. Otherwise, all the files disappear. So we do want to keep things going over the summer. So you can catch up with us. Xan, where's the best place to follow you?
So you can pretty much find me on all social media platforms. It'll be Xan Cruz. So if you don't know how to spell that, I'm sure it's in the description to this podcast here or in our bio on Instagram or wherever you are listening to this. Matt, whereabouts are we finding you at the moment?
In the other studio. Oh, no, you don't mean that, do you? No, you can find me, you get hold of me at Matt Fix a Paint on Instagram. You can follow me on Strava for when I am actually riding the bike. I would say, if you do like the show, share it amongst your friends as well.
Yeah, please.
Don't follow me, follow them, because Neil supports the sport. We do as well, but Grity, I'm sure will appreciate it just as much as I would. But Xan also, the team and Xan, follow them. But just as importantly, share the show in amongst your friends. Give it a share. Give it a review. Say how good or bad it is. Tell people how miserable I am and how happy Neil is and how Xan has brought light into the darkness that is the grumpy old man. Whatever you want to say. But share it out there. Put a review out, please. It really does help in keeping the show on the road as well. So please do that. And of course, Neil, I did say follow you, so you better tell people where they can.
Yeah, you can find me at Crosscast Neil on most things, and you can follow the business at Grity Kit, and you can come along to gritty.co.uk. We may have an announcement next week. I hope to be able to bring on the Crosscast next week, so looking forward to that. But I'm just give you that little teaser just there. So looking forward to catching up with you then, and until next time, we'll see you on the other side of the tape. Bye.